I didn't know as much about the history of this world as Dave, so I didn't question it. But something about the bug made me uneasy: large mandibles, 8 thick legs, the strange tendrils. It was as if the creature was designed to scare people. "Amazing," Dave said, interrupting my contemplation, pointing at the test results on the tendrils. "They're nerves of a sort, meaning they were far more sensitive than simple whiskers. Does it even have the brain to handle that kind of information?" I asked. "The neural structure is simple but robust," the biologist replied. "Even with partly intact specimens, we were able to determine they had a very high neural plasticity, far beyond what would be expected in even a large insect. This is probably why. Would also make them hard to kill," I noted. "Take out one nerve clump and the others simply take up the slack. A distributed neural system." Dave was excited, nearly bouncing on the spot as he looked over the scans that were much clearer without the salt. "What's that?" I asked, pointing at the tablet. "Looks like some active neurons. Probably just the salt in the creature's body." Dave dismissed. "Salt is, by its nature, highly reactive and ionized. Wouldn't take much to trigger a few stray signals. If I ever meet whatever god or gods made these worlds I travel through, remind me to punch them. For it seems every time someone tempts fate, it goes poorly. I don't know why, but I've taken to blaming the fates. Hence my desire to sock them." We were interrupted by a scream from the containment room, quickly disrupting our discussion. One of the biologists had gone to remove a couple traces of salt on the creature's mandibles, and the mandibles had closed hard. Despite being encased in salt for hundreds of years, it was strong enough to cut clean through the biohazard suit and deep into the man's arm. It took both of the other 2 people in the containment room to pry the jaws open enough to extract the trapped limb. Dave and I watched closely as they pulled the bleeding man out of the room. Despite the surprise, it didn't seem the creature was moving more. A stray signal from a salt ion triggered an instinctive reaction to bite down, Dave said, as if to explain away the situation. "Are any of the eggs viable?" I asked in a panic, suddenly remembering what he said about how the creature breeds. "I doubt it," Dave replied, but his voice lacked the certainty I wanted. I'd been told my travels were attracted to important times and places. What if I was about to witness a new outbreak of the parasite? It had already driven one species to extinction. I couldn't let that happen again. If I had any power to stop it, I had to do so. So I ran from the room, leaving a stunned Dave in the observation room, and quickly found the injured scientist. A doctor was already looking over him with his own implants, augmented by some handheld scanners, while his friends, still in their biohazard suits, held him down on the stretcher. Partly to test my own new implants, I ran what scans I could. I didn't exactly have a full sensor suite, several passive scanners, LiDAR and short-range quantum scanners, but the few eggs I could pick up from 5 feet were all ruptured and dead from being encased in salt. The eggs were small, like grains of sand, but once I was able to locate them, I quickly relayed what to look for to the doctor. He was annoyed that I was butting in and ran a quick scan with his own, more powerful sensors. A quick report that all the eggs were dead and a "please go away" were all the time he gave me. I sighed in relief and did as I was told. As I walked back to the observation room, I realized how foolish I was being. Hundreds of years encased in salt would kill almost anything. Dave was probably right. The salt ions triggered an instinctive reaction. That, by itself, was amazing, but hardly a cause for concern. Dave wasn't in the observation room when I returned. Instead, I heard some movement in the containment area. Dave had probably suited up to go check on the specimen. He had, but he wasn't inspecting the bug. He was on the ground, bleeding, a dark shape chewing at his neck. My blood ran cold as I realized the creature had, somehow, survived being encased for so long. The bite was merely the results of it waking up. It had woken and attacked Dave the moment he entered the room, catching the biologist off guard. The powerful mandibles had removed Dave's arm. While Dave fell to the ground in shock, the bug had angled his dismembered arm, so the bleeding stump met up with one of the hairy mounds on its side. I watched as the tendrils worked their way into the flesh and made contact with the nervous system within the disembodied limb. Dave's own arm worked to hold him down as the creature chewed through the biohazard suit with its powerful mandibles. I took off at a run, once more, hoping I could save him. I ran into the locker room, filled with hazard suits, and past them. Reaching the airlock, I pressed at the keypad to one side, but it needed a code. Code I didn't have. Furious, I turned all my limited sensors to the device, hoping to determine what the correct combination was. It was hopeless, but I was in a state of panic, unable to really think clearly. I froze in surprise as the other side of the airlock opened. Had the bug somehow accidentally opened it? Through the thick glass, I saw the bug thing scuttle in, dragging one of its legs behind it, apparently not completely untouched by the ravages of time. Dave's arm was affixed to one side of the creature, helping it along in a jerky motion as if the owner wasn't used to it. To the creature's other side was Dave's head. I realized with a cold terror. The controlled arm reached up to the keypad and, to my growing terror, began slowly pressing buttons. It was reading Dave's brain with those strange tendrils to figure out how to escape. No wonder it had wiped out the alien species on the planet below, if it could make use of the knowledge of its hosts. I stumbled back as an alert appeared in my vision. 10 seconds until travel. Not now. I thought I had to stop it. I quickly looked around for a weapon, but this was a locker room for a biological containment room, not an armory. I picked up a stool that was nearby, readying myself for the moment the door opened. This was my last chance. I was wrong about the eggs, and I was wrong about the creature being dead. But I could stop it now. I could see the results of what would happen if I failed. The creature would generate new, viable eggs and spread. Using the knowledge in the minds of the scientists, they would spread to other stations, other worlds. It would be like a wildfire. Maybe humanity would survive, but just as likely they would come to an end. The door slid open, slowly, and I charged, letting out a scream as I hefted the stool over my head. And the world vanished around me as the timer in my vision hit 0.